Herkese merhaba. Olimpos Yayınları YouTube kanalına hepiniz hoş geldiniz. Bugün yanımızda çok sevilen dedektif Adam Payne serisi ve aile içi cinayet kitaplarının yazarı Cara Hunter var. Kendisi bizi İstanbul'da ziyarete geldi. Biz de bu ziyareti vesilesiyle hem kendisini daha yakından tanımak hem de sizin sorularınızı kendisine iletmek istedik. Bugün Galata Port Diyanar mağazasındayız ve keyifli bir sohbet gerçekleştirmeyi umuyoruz. Herkese iyi seyirler dileriz. Okay, welcome Cara again. Thank you. It's lovely to be here, really. Yeah, it's wonderful to have you here in Istanbul. Thank you very much. And I hope you're enjoying your visiting. Having an amazing time. The city is so beautiful and there's so much energy. You've had amazing food. You've been to hammam. We've done the walking tour. Are you excited to meet your Turkish readers? Yes. I mean, they are so passionate. When I talk to them on Instagram, we have a lot of conversation. And they're always posting, asking questions. They obviously love books and love reading. And so it's always fantastic to meet readers wherever in the world, especially really passionate readers. You're right. Okay. So we have put together some questions, some from our own curiosity, some from the readers. And if you're ready, we can just go dive into the questions. Yes. Okay. First question is a general and basic question for you. And crime and detective fiction is really popular all over the world, also in Turkey. And we, as a Olympus Publishing, we have a lot of titles in this genre in our catalog, especially the podcasts, true crime podcasts, also really popular in Turkey. Yeah. We have a really close interest in this genre. So after your books were published in Turkey, what kind of feedbacks did you get from Turkish readers? And how was that? Well, I'm always thrilled when people from across the world are interested in a story set in England. So, I mean, it might not happen, you might think, well, I'm not interested in that. But they seem to really engage with the characters. And I think the stories as well, because as you said, the true crime angle, very much something that inspires me in my writing. And I've done more and more of that as I've done more and more books. And we get to this one, of course, and it becomes like a TV show. Yeah, true crime program. So I think those elements of the book people really like. And certainly they've responded to that in Turkey and have asked a lot of questions about that sort of thing. And the style of the book is a bit different each time. Yeah. So not a traditional crime book. So maybe some new one. It's the format and everything. It's a new idea. Yeah. We like it. Yeah, I think we love the true crime and we love the real crime stories. Yeah. Generally. A reader question I will ask. What's the very first thing you need to know before you can start writing a new book? An image and twist, a voice, a document, or anything else? It will always start with one idea. I never know where that will come from. Sometimes it might be something I've read in a newspaper or a true crime podcast. I've heard something I thought, okay, that might be interesting. It may be a complete true crime case that I've looked at. And I thought, wow, that's really interesting. So one of my books takes the real case and sort of turns it around and changes it a little, but it's still recognizable, I think, as the original. I suppose I always need to have, very good question, I always need to have a thing that will make the reader turn the page. So want to find out what happened. So that's the essence of a good idea, that it will make you want to find out what happened. Third question is from us, who just professionally wonder that. Today, almost every case ends up in the public spotlight. So in Turkey, in some criminal cases, the opinions of social media, just users can even influence the course of the investigation. And before social media, journalism and the television make the same effect. And we just live the same things again and again. In your book, we can see many of the forces shapes the case, and we can just see on the page. And I found that really innovative for me in my idea. For example, in the dark, we follow a real-time chat about the missing girl. Yeah. And I think it was so, you use the tension is getting higher and higher every chat with every writing, every entry. You also created the feeling that we are reading the case file. Yeah. Yeah, it's a new thing also. You use formats we don't usually expect in fiction, like tweets, headlines, and everything. I just want to ask about that. What led you to this mixed media approach? Yes, it's become, as you say, it's become the thing that I do. And it's a bit different from what other people do. It did start with the first book with the little girl who goes missing. And I remember as I was putting that story together, thinking that whatever happened, it would be a social media story.
Yeah.
That in real life now, if a small child disappears, it's all over the news. It's all over social media. People on social media are speculating about what might have happened. They're coming up with theories, sometimes not very kind theories, journalists about the family or whatever, and they're making opinions about what's gone on based on nothing at all, based only on seeing a photograph on the TV.
Yeah.
So this is actually quite a sort of dangerous thing, really, for us as humans. It's not it's the worst side of social media.
Yeah.
Social media is so good in so many ways, but that's not a good element of it.
Yeah.
So one of the things I wanted to do in the first book about Daisy Mason was to explore that, to see how the social media audience storm would influence the real case that was going on, the police attitude, the police investigation. Those themes were important to me as a way of looking at something which I think is important socially. And because I wanted to do that, I brought the Twitter, as it used to be called, I brought the Twitter voices inside the book so that we could see how it was laying. And having done that, it seemed natural to bring in the news, because the news will influence social media. So it's one and then another and one and then another. So that was really all I did in that first book, was those two things, news stories and social media. But I liked doing it so much and my readers loved it.
Yeah.
So in the second book, I did more. And I had a crime scene drawing and I had various additional documents. And the more I did, the more people loved it.
Yeah.
So I keep adding new things. So we now have photographs, we have maps, we have
everything.
We have everything. And the reason I love doing it, but I think the reason people love reading a story like that is it makes them into a detective themselves. They have all the material. They sometimes have things that the police don't have. I give them things the police haven't seen. So they have a good chance of working out what's going on. And I think they like that.
Yeah.
So it becomes interactive. And it's my favorite part as well. So, why would I not do it? I love doing it.
Yeah, you're right. For me, it was a fresh touch for me. When I was reading, I just saw the file and everything. I just gives me something like I investigate something. I just feel like that because of that. I like it. But in Daisy Mason, it was less
because I hadn't done it.
You're practicing.
And seeing if people liked it.
Yeah.
Because if you do something and people say, well, I like the rest of the book, but not that, you wouldn't do it again.
Yeah.
But it was the opposite. So and I went all the way. And as I say, this one completely. No, but it's a book. Yeah, you're right.
I read a question that directly with this topic. Do you ever worry that the documents make it too real, like we are intruding, or is that discomfort part of the point?
That's another really good question. You see what I mean about Turkish readers? They are really, really thoughtful.
They're into
everything. It's a very good point, because the whole true crime podcast industry, and that's the word really now, it has its own issues, ethical issues.
Yes.
Because if you're doing something like that, you're exploring a real case. There are real people, obviously.
Yeah.
Some of whom did not want to be part of it. The people I always feel sorry for are the family of the killer or the perpetrator.
Yeah.
They didn't ask to be part of this, but they often get dragged into the whole storm around a case. And sometimes people going back and investigating a cold case can bring things back which isn't helpful, and treading on people's pain. And sometimes people start accusing people who are nothing to do with it. They think they've solved the crime. And in fact, they're accusing an innocent person. So it's not a simple form of entertainment. It has a lot of issues around it.
Yeah, sure.
So again, one of the things I wanted to do in this book, when we're looking at the idea of
resurrecting an investigation 20 years later is look at some of those ethical issues. And if you remember, after each episode in that book, we have a TV review of the episode and then a chat room for the people who've been watching. So those two things for me were really important as places to explore those ethical issues. So often the TV reviewer will say, is this a good form of television that we are looking at other people's past, other people's pain? Is this the right thing to do? So it was a way of bringing those issues to the front of the reader's mind, my reader's mind.
Yeah.
And just think about it. I don't have the answers, but I think we should ask the question.
Yeah.
So that was what I was trying to do.
For the new question, and we also just we really wonder this format thing, and we had a lot of questions about that because you're really new for the Turkish readers, maybe because of that they are just wondering. You use different kinds of documents in every book, and the mix keeps expanding.
Yeah.
How do you decide the formats you include into the each book? It's just the story decide that, or another tool?
Sometimes it's the story. In the third book, where we start with the big fire, then I brought in a fire report, and I went and spent a morning with the fire service in my local town. And my partner will laugh and say it's because I like firemen, men in uniform. Maybe. But then, it was joking apart. It was fascinating to sit down with them, and they would explain to me how they investigate a fire they think is suspicious. So what evidence do they get? What do they see that makes them think that? And once they've decided there's a potential crime, how do they go about investigating it? So I spent a long time with them, and they showed me the sort of reports that they write.
You're also investigating when you're writing.
Yeah, exactly. So they showed me the report they would write, and I took that template and made it shorter, obviously, because those are very long. And it now looks in the book like it would look in real life. And now I have a real passion for doing that, making things look as true to life as possible. So in that book, it was the story that led me to do that. In others, it's just that I'm looking for something new. So I'm now doing photographs, which I never did before. We've had maps for a while. I've done post-mortem reports for a while. So anything new, I like to challenge myself. Each book needs to be one new thing in each book. And I never know exactly what it will be.
Because I read a question about murder in the family, where it really stands out. If the book were adapted for screen, would you prefer a documentary style version or more conventional drama?
This is interesting because I hope it will be on screen.
Yeah.
Because the Hollywood director, Sam Mendes, he bought the book. So fingers crossed. I haven't seen the approach that they're planning to take yet. But I think it would be, obviously it's not real, so it's always a drama in some way, but I think they want to keep the true crime TV angle of it. So to make it look like a true crime documentary on screen as you watch it. And then, of course, they have more scope than I did in the book to look at the background of the investigating team. So in the book, we only have them on screen doing the show. Whereas if it's put onto TV, then you could look at their home life, you could see them outside that context. So I think they will do that, but I don't know how. So it's going to be very exciting, actually, see how they actually change it, because they have to. They have to change it somehow.
I hope they don't lose the essence of the book.
Oh, yeah.
Time for that. You recently many crime novels have chosen a female lead. Perhaps tell the contrast of the inner life of the woman and with the profession.
Yeah.
I don't know. But you choose a male main character. What was behind that?
There's an interesting story to this. When I got the idea for the Daisy Mason book, I only thought I would be writing one book. I didn't know it was going to be a success. So I thought when I was writing it, I had a good twist at the end. So we won't talk about spoilers.
Understand. Until the end.
Yeah. Well, you can see what I mean. I thought that the twist was good and would be appealing. But I thought, well, in England, the market for detective fiction is so crowded, so many books, always a couple of, there are so many good crime books as well. So I thought to myself, how do I make this stand out? How do I make it different? So I had this idea, this crazy idea. The detective, we would never know whether it was a man or a woman. So if you, of course, it was the same as it ended up in that the detective talks to the reader directly. So you wouldn't necessarily know from that whether it was a man or a woman. And I chose names that in English could be for a man or a woman, yeah. And I wrote the entire book without ever revealing. And it was fascinating because when we went publishers in England for the first time, it was still in that format. It wasn't added. And I would sit with publishers, professional readers, very experienced people, and they would often say to me things like, I love your female detective. And I would say, are you sure? You really sure? That's her. Oh, yeah. They would then go, and it was just very interesting how they had brought some of their own assumptions. No, they didn't know. No. They just read it as it was. And they made an assumption about whether it was a man or a woman. So that was fascinating. But then when it was Penguin who bought it to start with, when they bought the book, my editor said, well, this was a fun idea for one book, but I want more of these. You will never keep it going. Yeah, you will never keep it going. It was hard enough to do it once. So she said, I don't care if it's a man or a woman. You choose and we'll stick with that. And I decided it's more of a challenge, I suppose, in many ways to write as a man. But I think what's happened with that is that I made very few changes. When I changed it to Adam, I didn't go back and change I put a name and I made perhaps one or two small changes, but basically it's the same person. So another reader said to me recently, that's why he's more human than he is a man, because originally start with the idea where it had to work for both. So I like to think that's one reason why that people warm to him, is that he has human qualities as well as being a man.
Your books often run on two tracks.
Mm-hmm.
The tape itself and also the editorial personal.
Yes.
What are the difficulties you face while trying to keep the story developing in background all over the place?
Yeah, that again, it's a good question. Partly because, as I just said, I started out, I didn't realize I would be writing more than one. So I didn't sit down, as some people do, and write a whole big profile of this guy and where he went to school and I didn't do any of that because I thought this is one book. We need to know something about him. And we particularly needed to know that he had the tragedy of losing his own child. That was really important to the story. But we didn't need to know a huge amount apart from that. I didn't do a huge amount apart from that. It wasn't until I started the second, third, fourth books that I was exploring him as well, same as my readers were. I mean, we were finding things out about him at the same time. So that was rather wonderful in a way. And again, I've been very lucky in that his character has been, if you like, rich enough to explore. And I've been able to look at the relationship with his wife and his first child and then see how that tragedy came about. And do it in much more detail over time so that you don't get too much of that in any one book. You just get a balance between the real story and his story.
With every book you read Adam again and again.
Yeah.
Something.
Yeah.
I read this question again. In the dark, the story literally contains a true crime program structure. Do you watch true crime TV as a pleasure? or I think you for investigation.
Yeah, for research, yes.
Is that pleasure in it or not?
Mostly. Well, there's a phrase in English of a guilty pleasure. Guilty pleasure. So a pleasure that you're definitely enjoying it, but you know you shouldn't really. You should really. So sometimes it is just genuinely fascinating. The thing I find most fascinating about true crime compared to crime drama or crime fiction, it's the most obvious thing, but it's also really important, is that it happened. So, I mean, I can make up all sorts of things. I can make up people doing stupid things, making stupid decisions. But when you see true crime, people made those decisions. The real people did that. And you sit there thinking, what did you do? How did you think you were ever going to get away? Especially in America, where if you get caught, the prison system is so hard and the sentences are so long that, you are potentially never coming out. You look at the risks people take, and so that's what makes motives so powerful. Because if you're going to take a risk as huge as that, with such a high likelihood these days that you will get caught with forensics, DNA, you still do it. So it's the motives in true crime that I'm absolutely fascinated by. Why people make such bad decisions. What leads them to do that. So, and that's the research part, that just understanding the human mentality, the psychology of it is absolutely fascinating.
Find out.
I think not yet.
Some people are I'm sorry, are just stupid. So stupid. Other people aren't nice. Some people are evil. Some people are stupid. It's the ones in the middle that are interesting. Yeah, not the stupid ones or the evil ones. It's the ones in the middle. They're ordinary people making extraordinary decisions, but really bad.
Like this from my book. Graphics can be powerful way to explore social life.
Yes.
Because it shows both society, extravagantly, and how people react. Do you think the genre is still one of the strongest way to reveal that quiet?
I think it's a fascinating way to do exactly that. I mean, that's what I try to do every time. There's always something I want to explore alongside the actual crime and the story that makes people turn the pages. I always want to ask questions. And we were just talking about that. Ask questions of the reader, ask questions of myself, and ask questions of society about the way we are evolving, that certain types of crime become more common. And there are things like in All the Rage, when I was looking at the incel movement, online hate group, online misogyny. Those are powerful and terrifying movements that have come out almost of nowhere. Again, it's a lot of it fueled by social media, ability of people to connect in a bad way rather than in a good way. So that was core part of what I wanted to look at in that book. And I found it really hard, really difficult to do, because I had to do the research and read the material. And then I replicated something like it in the book, which was awful, but not as bad as what I'd read myself. And it's evolved further into this, the Andrew Tate movement, that of sort of toxic masculinity online and things like that, which we have to, if we're going to counter things like that, we have to understand it and ask the right questions. And I think fiction can be a good place to open up that type of debate. People are more receptive to listening maybe in a fictional form than they would be to political conversation sometimes. So yeah. It's I feel like that we have a responsibility to be aware of the world around us if we're writing fiction.
We have a reader question on back to what we are discussing. Were you surprised by the reaction to the male victim, the male perpetrator in the whole truth?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was playing with that one as well. So, take a crime and make an assumption about it and then turn it upside down. So you have a victim who apparently is a man and a perpetrator who apparently is a woman. What's going on here? And what I was looking at there is the truth of all sexual crime, which is it's more about power than it is about sex. Who's got power over who and why. That relationship in that book, it was all about power. You know what I'm like. I'll never leave it as simple as that. So we get to the end and there's one final twist. Yeah, it was again an important theme to look at, I think, and just to challenge ourselves. Our assumptions about who's always believing one side, not the other. Maybe that's wrong. Maybe we always have to keep an open mind.
Have quick question.
Okay. Is there a prize at the end? No, I'm only joking.
You could quickly answer that, or if you want, you can talk about that.
Okay, so my first script, your book offers certain script and levels of moment, the writing problem. Is that your portrait? What do you keep returning to?
I think the family is at the heart of most of what I write. And I think that partly because the sort of crime that we felt and normal people will usually come across will be something that's linked to some sort of domestic problem. You're very unlikely to be the victim of some sort of mad serial killer. I mean, yes, they do exist, but the chances of you ever coming across something like that is tiny. Crime in the world, there's a lot of that, and most of it is generated by family situations, which is very sad. And there's terrible fallout from that, and it's usually the children that are suffering, and that's one of the things again that I look at in the books. So yes, I think you're right. Perhaps the core theme is home is where the hurt is.
My second question is, which member of family is hardest to write, and
Which is the most fun? Hardest to write, Quinn, I think. And the reason being that he's so close to being a cliche. But you have to be really careful. Yeah, I just have to pull him back because he can be such a cliche, and then he surprises you, which is good. So that's the thing about him that's difficult, just to keep him real. And the most fun, that's a good question. I think probably one of the women are the fun ones to write. I was really passionate about having women in the team and having women in the team who worked well together, because one of the things that certainly UK TV, probably it's gone away a bit now, but back in the day, UK TV, crime drama, if there were two women in the police team, they were always at each other's throats. They were always rivals. It was like it's the most irritating it's a motif. So I'm not doing that. I said to myself, I'm not doing that. I'm going to have women who are, yes, ambitious and yes, are finding it tough in a man's world, but they're not going to take it out on each other. They're going to work together. So that was really powerful. Cool.
If you were right at, series from which character just Poland?
Well, that's a very good question. There's a funny answer to that. One of the very small police characters is called Sergeant Barnettson, who's a uniform officer who's named after a friend of myself and my partner who loves being in the books and is desperate for me to write him a series. If I start writing the Ian Barnettson story, you'll know that he's beaten me up and made me write it. But I think actually, I don't know who else. Maybe one of the women. Yeah, no, maybe Verity. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it.
Okay. Time for a woman to
Yeah, I think maybe. Yeah.
So this question is about me also. What question do you wish interviewers would ask you, but they never do?
But they never
I
do.
never do.
When I was in Budapest doing the Hungarian crime festival, the interviewer was another crime writer. So, of course, you get a slightly different angle if it's another writer. And she asked this brilliant question. She's looking at the beginning of the Pauly books where I give those little descriptions of the characters.
Yes.
And she said, give us one of those for you.
Oh.
Which I thought was a really good question. I had not thought about that at all. Yeah, I thought that was that was a cool question. And I can't remember what I said.
What are you obsessed with right now? An idea, a case, a setting that might shape your next novel?
Well, I'm writing another standalone.
Oh,
okay. So yeah, it's another standalone. So you have another 40 to come. So after that, I'm writing the next one, which has another TV angle like Murder in the Family. It's not exactly the same. So this is, again, a TV show, but it's a TV show not about an old murder, but a TV show where a murder happens in the middle of filming. So there's lots of things going on there. And I'm looking, again, some social issues and stuff. So it's quite away from getting to the end of the first draft, but it's fun. I'm enjoying it. So I'm hoping that it will be okay. Well,
so what are you planning for in the family?
So there's the number, you have 5, that you're 5, 2 more to come. So there will be another one after what I'm writing now. I've got a contract to do this one and another Pauly, and then after that.
Oh, okay, you are
Still planning. So there will definitely be another Pauly after. Oh, no. Adam will be back. Don't worry.
It was end of my question, but if you want to add something more,
I think you covered a lot, actually. That's a really good interview.
okay.
Ask a question. If someone has always takes place in crime fiction, classic and contemporary, would you ever consider writing crime fiction set in Istanbul?
That's possible. not fully unless he has a really good holiday. So it would have to be another standalone. If I found an idea that works well here, then yeah, I would. But I need more research time. Definitely.
Cara, thank you very much for your answer.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we're actually glad you came here. It was a real pleasure to getting to know me better.
Mhm.
And thank you again for this wonderful books.
Thank
write
you.
for us.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Size de izlediğiniz ve takip ettiğiniz için çok teşekkür ederim. Serinin devamıyla ilgili duyuruları sosyal medya hesaplarımızdan yapmaya devam edeceğiz. Takip edebilirsiniz. Aynı zamanda yazarlarımızla videolarımıza da devam edeceğiz. Bunun için de YouTube kanalımızı takip etmeye devam edeceğiz.